Okay, I think we are live. Yeah, it's on record, yeah. Hello, everyone, and
Hello.
welcome to the Kingsbarns Father's Day Whisky Tasting with me, Peter Holroyd. I'm the distillery manager here at Kingsbarns, and what I'd quite like to do tonight is give you all a very brief tour of the distillery itself, try and give a little bit of insight into how we managed to get all the flavour into what's in your glass right now, or what will be in your glass very shortly. Um, and then we're going to have a little bit of a tasting of a couple of different drams, the Dream to Dram being one of them, of course, and maybe another one after that as well. And then we're just going to have a bit of a relaxed blether. So a wee question and answer session, and keep it quite chilled out, I think. Before I begin, a couple of housekeeping points. I see most of you have got your screens on mute. Yeah, you all do. Fantastic. So if we can keep our screens on mute, just for the time being, stops us talking over one another until we get to the questions at the end. The other thing, I suppose we've got a chat function as well, so you can pitch in with comments and questions in the chat function there as well, so feel free to do so. Yeah, Hannah Peebles is also with us tonight. She's going to be taking care of any technical issues that we might encounter, so hello, Hannah. Well, it's fantastic to see so many of you pitching up tonight for a wee virtual dram. Hello, everyone. So, first of all, happy Father's Day and congratulations. You have offspring that love you enough to buy you a bottle of whiskey. So, yeah, what I'd quite like to do is maybe talk a little bit about Father's Day as well, first off. So, Father's Day is quite an important day in the Scottish whisky industry. The main reason being that, well, lots of people like to buy whisky for their dads as a wee gift, and we have to prepare for that. But on a personal level, it's quite special as well, because our first introduction to whisky is often through our fathers. You know, your dad might give you your first sip of whisky. That was certainly the case for me. I don't particularly remember enjoying whiskey on first contact, to be absolutely honest with you. But as you get a little bit older, you start to appreciate it, you start to enjoy it. You really start to kind of to learn that whiskey is so much more than just a drink. It's about people, it's about experiences, it's about the full situation around kind of where you're drinking, what you're drinking, who you're with. It's a gregarious spirit, it's a very friendly spirit. I think the fact that, you know, so many of you have got a bottle of whiskey here tonight is it pays to the fact that, you know, people want to give this away. You know, people want to share this. So first off, history. So how did we get here? Well, we're a family-run, independently owned distillery based out in the East Neuk of Fife in Scotland. Independently owned and family operated by the Weems family. So the Weems family have ancient links to this very area, ancestral links dating back to the 13th century. Primarily a business family with a wide range of different interests. Just in the drink sector alone, everything from a premium wine brand in Rimeret vineyards in the south of France to gin producers as well with Darnley's Gin. But crucially, before they started Kingsbarns here, they had a little bit of knowledge and experience in Scotch whisky. So in 2005, William Weems set up Weems Malts, an independent whisky bottler and blender. So that was taking whiskies from all over Scotland, blending them, and also releasing single cask editions from individual distilleries if the liquid was up to the mark. So in 2012, when the opportunity arose to start a distillery in their ancestral home, here in Kingsbarns, well, they jumped at the chance, but it was not an easy journey. So it takes a hell of a long time to be able to get a distillery set up. It wasn't until 2015 that we actually ran the stills for the first time here. So that was about 2.5 years. The building itself had bags of potential. So it's an old farmsteading. It's a couple of 100 years old, beautiful old sandstone. So we worked closely with conservation architects, industry experts as well, to make sure that what we were doing was right. We wanted to make it more than just a distillery, really. We wanted to give an exceptional visitor experience. You want to be proud of the whiskey, so you want to kind of show off how you make it as well. So a visitor centre was very much in the plan. We wanted to do a cafe, shop, tasting rooms, as well as the distillery itself. And I'll let you all in on a wee secret. We have never done a whiskey tasting inside the distillery before, you know, inside the actual production room. So this is a first for me as well. And I'm actually quite excited to have a dram with you all. You know, let alone the first virtual whiskey tasting we've had from here. It's the first tasting we've had here at all in the room where it's made. So what I'd like to do now is probably show you some of the different aspects of how we make a dram, how we make our whiskey. Focus on the parts that make a profound impact on getting flavour into the glass. And then we'll have a taste of it, of the stuff at the very end as well. So first off, the Mash Tun. So we bring in malted barley. Bring in malted barley, and we're going to mill it on site here. Every part of the production process, from raw materials to the way the plant is engineered to how you process, how you operate the distillery, it's all, you've got to be doing that with the aim of creating the sort of distillery character you want. And right from the outset, we knew we wanted to make something that was light, that had bags of kind of fruity, elegant character. So the very last thing you do, you don't cobble together all the pipework, connect up the stills, press the on button, and then see what comes out the other side. You've got to be meticulous at every single stage to make sure what you're doing is contributing to your end product, to your whiskey. Probably the first stage that's got some importance for us is in the Mash Tun, so I'll just show you that now. So it's all a batch process. We use 1.5 tons of malt in every batch. It's all Fife barley, so we're trying to give the spirit a sense of place as well. So Fife growing barley, mineral-rich water from an aquifer that we draw directly below the distillery, 100 metres below the distillery, and then we mature all our whiskey in Fife as well. But the Mash Tun is probably the first stage after milling, is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. So this is the Mash Tun in here. You can see that's the rakes there. You might be able to see there's a perforated floor as well. Essentially, this vessel is a conversion vessel, and it's a sieve. So you're going to separate all of the milled malted barley. What you want to do is extract as much of the sugar as possible from the malt and as much of the flavour as possible from the malt. The important point here is you're trying to get a very clear wort, is what we're trying to do. So you mix in 3 series of hot water, each hot water getting hotter the next time. Our mash man, usually Gareth Reed, is going to mash in. It's going to take him about 20 minutes to mix in hot water, 6,000 litres of hot water with 1.5 tons of milled malted barley. It's called grist at that stage. So once he's mixed it all up, we end up with something that's essentially akin to porridge. And he's going to start to drain it off from the bottom of the tun. As I say, it's almost like a sieve process, leaving behind all the husks, but extracting all the natural sugars that are present in the malt. But before he's going to start to transfer all of that sugary liquid, which is called wort, over for fermentation, what he's going to do is he's going to recirculate it. So he's going to pump it from the bottom of the mash tun over to the top, and that's going to clear up the liquid. And what's quite an important thing for us here is we're going to keep a very close eye using this sight glass to make sure that the wort is quite clear. Now, why would we bother doing that? Well, the best way I can describe the reasoning and the justification behind that is we're effectively producing yeast food here. We're producing sugar for the yeast to metabolize, to eat and produce alcohol. and you are what you eat. So if you give the yeast a very clear, kind of bright color wort, then it's going to encourage it to produce flavors that are quite estery, quite light, fruity, top notes, these sort of elegant style of spirit. Now, if you were looking for more of a spicy, sort of rich, nutty style of spirit, you'd actually want that to be cloudy. But for us, we want it very clear. So before we start transferring across for fermentation, we make sure that's nice and clear. And Gareth's going to be checking it throughout. Across for fermentation, well, I'll just show you some of our washbacks. This is where we ferment. It's fermentation vessels, essentially, and it's where we're going to ferment that sugary liquid. We've got 4 stainless steel washbacks here. Nice and easy to clean. Some distilleries use wooden ones. Again, there's, you can play 1,000 different tunes in a distillery. It's all of these different aspects that make them unique and interesting and idiosyncratic. So the wash, I'm just going to pour a wee sample because it's interesting to have a look at it. And I should go back a stage. So confusingly, after fermentation, the wort is actually, that sugary liquid, once it's been fermented, it's then called wash, just to confuse folk on tours. And this is what it looks like. So, essentially kind of like a wheat beer. And it's got a similar aroma to that. Certainly pineapple, sour notes, maybe even a little bit of banana. But it's kind of like a strong beer. Now, what do we use to ferment that? Well, we actually use 2 strains of yeast. We use anchor yeast and La Safra. I've just got the boxes down there. So 2 strains of yeast is reasonably unique in the whiskey industry. And why would we go to the bother? Well, each strain contributes something different to the wash. So the anchor, which is the first yeast we use, and we do a blend of 50-50 in each and every fermentation. The anchor is a distillery stalwart. Distillers have been using it for decades and for good reason. It's got a great flavor profile. It is efficient in what it does. It eats all the sugar and metabolizes it and produces a lot of alcohol, so you get good yield out of it. Now, the fermentus is a different animal altogether. This is the second type of yeast that we use in the fermentation. It's more of an ester-producing yeast, so it gives you all these kind of top fruity notes. It's where I think we get our summer berry note in our whiskey. So the thing about this is you're using 2 yeasts. What you get there is you get balance and you get complexity in the fermentation before you even get to talking about those sort of terms in distillation or maturation. What I've learned is you need to make sure that you have all the flavor in the washbacks. That's crucial. The stills will just extract what you have in the wash, so you need to make sure that all of the flavor and all the quality is in the fermentation. The stills are only going to condense that, so make sure the quality is there. Moving on to the stills, we'll just have a quick look at them over here. So we're a very traditional double pot still copper pot still distillation here at Kingsbarns. One's with the wash still here, and another distillation secondly with the spirit still. So the wash still will bring that 8% wash up to about 25% after the first distillation. So after that, it's called low wines, and obviously we need to increase the strength a wee bit there. So what we're going to do is we're going to distill it again in the spirit still. Quite long line arms as well. You can notice, these copper pipes linking the neck of the still to the condenser. And again, what we're doing here is we want to run both stills, both the wash and the spirit, really slowly. So what you're doing there is you're getting a lot of copper contact and a lot of reflux is what it's called. So the vapor rises up the neck along the line arm and into the condenser. And if you get a lot of copper contact, it's a natural catalyst. It helps to remove kind of more meaty, chunky, sort of leathery characteristics of the spirit And again, if we're striving for something elegant, something fruity, that's what we really want to do, run the stills very, very slowly. On the spirit still, we're going to take 3 cuts. So you're going to take the head, the heart, and the tails. So the head of the cut is what first comes out of the first distillation. So that's the very lightest congeners, the very lowest molecular weight stuff. So it's actually quite aggressive. It's about 75% strength. It's too strong to be able to put that into casks. So we're going to save that in a separate tank. The middle cut is the stuff that we're wanting. That's the stuff that we're going to fill into casks. And we take that quite a high cut as well. Once we've run that for about 3 hours, that's where we're going to take the tail of the run. So the tail of the run, again, it's got alcohol. You want to be efficient. You want to save that. So we're not going to waste it. We'll save it. We'll collect it all and we'll save it for the next distillation the next day. But this is almost like the Goldilocks sort of paradigm here. You're looking for just the right bit in the middle. For us, that's quite kind of light, fruity, elegant stuff. I'm going to show you what the new make spirit looks like and what it smells like as well. So we'll just move back to the table up here. The new make spirit. Can people give me a wee nod if you've ever had new make spirit before? Drew, Connor, you guys certainly have. I've got lots of folk nodding, lots of thumbs. Great, fantastic. Well, I'm preaching to the choir then, because yeah, this is fantastic stuff. If you ever get the chance, if you haven't had new make spirit before, if you've never had the chance to try it, I mean, give it a go. You visit a distillery and you get the chance to try their new make spirit, please do, because this is pure distillery character. There's no hiding behind any oak here. It's all light, fruity, elegant for us, but some other distilleries have completely different flavors. That's one of the interesting things about this industry and about Scotch in general. What comes off of the still for us? Well, we end up getting about 850 litres every batch of 73% strength liquid. Very light, very fruity. You get a malt note in it as well, though. So the raw materials still come through in here. You get that cereal kind of malty note. Someone described this to me as being like raspberry Cranachan, and you do get that summer berry, those sort of raspberry notes coming in as well. But it's very sweet. You taste this, it's quite sweet. I'm not going to wreck my palate on 73% just yet. I think we'll probably move on to the tasting and get to the good bit, eh? So, do we all have our Kingsbarns Dream to Dram at the ready? Fantastic. Good to see you all. Either got it in the glass already or just about to pour. So before we have a taste of this really is our flagship malt. And this was really our effort to try and focus on the distillery style, to try and show it off as much as possible, really. We've released it about a year and a half ago almost now. It's natural colour, non-chill filtered, and 46% strength. So really quite a raw, really quite an authentic and honest presentation. Before you drink whiskey, obviously the glassware is quite important, and that's why we decided to send out a couple of Glencairns. So anyone can enjoy whiskey. It's great fun. I think it's about just having a bit of fun with it. As I said before, it's about people, enjoyment, experiences, whiskey moments, you might call them. But part of the fun with whiskey is appreciating it as well. Is teasing out the tasting notes in a dram. What you might smell, what you might taste, what kind of memories does that evoke? Because smell especially is intrinsically linked to your memory. So it's very visceral. If you have a smell of something, it can take you back to childhood very quickly. So glassware, as I say, these Glencairns are great because they funnel aroma up to your nose. I sometimes use sherry nosing glasses for either doing whiskey tastings or whatnot, but Glencairns are a bit more robust, so they're fantastic, practical. So in the nose, very sweet. I'm getting kind of a sweet shop thing about it, I always say. Like banana foam sweets. Something slightly powdery about it as well. But you still get the orchard fruit, you still get that slight berry note that you get in our new make spirit. It's all still there, it's all still present. We're going for the taste. You might want to have, thinking about things like your primary tastes, like maybe sweet, salt, sour, bitter, or even savory, you know, that umami sort of savory taste you might get. Flange, and here's to all the dads. Happy Father's Day. So yeah, that's quite sweet up front. It really is. You get that soft toffee, almost caramel note, like a caramel with a bit of vanilla in it, and apples as well. Actually, I'm getting tonight. Mid palate. This is the fascinating thing about this dram for me, is it starts to evolve. So you get a little bit of change of the palate. So from when it's sweet up front, it then starts to go a little bit sour, and you get this sour berry mid palate going on, which is almost like red currants. The way that it changes is quite interesting for me, I think. You get a little bit of a finish of ginger, like ginger syrup, so there's a tiny touch of spice in there at the end. Quite a short finish, but yeah, I mean, for being a relatively young malt, I think it's punching above its weight. We're all incredibly proud of it. You know, everyone that works here is very passionate and very proud about being able to produce something that people enjoy. At the end of the day, that's something to be passionate about. So, as I say, here's to all the dads. I hope you enjoy. I would also say we've sent out 2 glasses, so I would encourage you all, save a little bit of your bottle. Just save a wee bit for the person that gave it to you, for your son or your daughter. Save a dram for them for when you can see them next. You heard it from me. Okay. Now, I think it would be quite interesting probably to deconstruct this whiskey a wee bit. I didn't mention what casks we aged it in. So it's 90% first fill bourbon is what's gone into this. So that means bourbon casks that have came across direct from Kentucky. So they've been dumped of their bourbon, they've been put in a shipping container, 210 at a time, and they've pitched up on our door one day. It's a busy day when those things come. But bourbon casks work really well for our new make spirit. They just round it off beautifully. I think it's a great presentation of distillery style, just in a bourbon cask. It rounds off all those kind of fruity notes and just adds a wee touch of vanilla, of caramel, even of a touch of coconut sometimes. So I would really say if 90% of the recipe is, you know, aged in bourbon casks, the backbone of the product really is ex-bourbon casks. You know, that's the spine of this dram. But what is the extra 10%? What else to be put in this whiskey? Well, the other 10% is shaved, toasted, recharred wine barriques. So these are from Portugal, and they really are the kind of glue that holds it all together. That 10% shaved, toasted, recharred casks, they make really wild whiskey, I have to admit. It's really rich, really dark, and I've got an example of that here. So you can have a look at that. This is Founders Club number 2, and it's really quite plummy, quite dark. How do they make those casks, and what's interesting about them? Well, these are red wine casks that have previously had Portuguese red wine in them. Portuguese, pretty kind of pretty jammy red wine, pretty juicy red wine. And what happens is at the cooperage, they partially disassemble them. So they're going to take the heads off the casks, and then they're going to scrape the inside of them with a big machine. Once they've done that, they're then going to gently toast them from the inside for about half an hour. And that's the kind of toasting element. It's a gentle heating process. After that, what they do is they're going to pile on all those shavings onto the fire that, you know, they shaved off the middle. And that means that eventually the cask goes up in flames in the inside, and they actually want an inferno for about 30 seconds coming up the cask. Then they reassemble them all. They pack them up into a shipping container and send them to us. But what's quite interesting about them is that they have so much life left to give. So in the whiskey industry, we're going to use casks maybe 2-3 times. And every time you use it, you know, you get a little bit less character of wood out of each use. Even for the bourbon casks, you know, the bourbon casks, they previously had quite high strength bourbon spirit in them. But for these red wine barriques, it's almost like a new active layer of oak, of carbon inside it. And that means that you get a hell of a lot of oak extract coming in. So there's a lot of life left to give. You know, these red wine casks, they've only ever seen 13% red wine. So when you add our new make spirit, something that's 63.5, you get a lot of character coming out of the wood. And that's where you get all this color coming from. So the first time that we ever released the Shave Toasted Recharred casks release was in 2019, November 2019. Now that was through the Founders Club. So the Founders Club was something that we actually set up in you know, when we began distilling, 2015. And it was a club that we designed really to allow people to become, you know, part of the journey, to join the journey with us in our whiskey making. First off, you got the Kingsbarns Founders Pack, which included a new make spirit and a Glencairn. Then you get the inaugural bottle. So the first bottling that we've ever put out of the distillery. So that was aged exclusively in bourbon casks. In 2018, we released that one. And then 2019, we released the STR release. And we've got a further three releases to go. So all in all, you get 5 bottles of whiskey. It is £500, but there are a few left as well. What we try to do with the Founders Club is give people something novel. So you give them something that, you know, we've not released before, something we've never, you know, casks we've never aged in, for instance. I like to do it cask strength as well, so we put them out at cask strength. I don't know if anyone has the Founders Club number 2. Feel free to have a dram if you do. And if you're wanting to open it, I should say, if it's not already opened. But I'm just going to pour a little bit here. So 61.1% strength. So still pretty spicy for being at cask strength. Again, looking at the appearance of the dram, good amber glow to that, isn't there? Lovely kind of legs falling down on the glass as well. And in the nose, right off, you can tell that this is something completely different. It's so much more rich. It's plummy. There's a lot of complexity in it as well. You know, there's sort of a dry herb note in here. But it's more akin to almost like a sherry matured whiskey. You know, you get those Christmas cake spices coming through. And when you smell this, you realize just 10% of that into the Dream to Dram, you know, our distillery flagship, 10% of that is going to make a real profound impact on the dram. You can tell that it is going to kind of hold it all together. It's going to give a wee touch of richness because this is incredibly rich whiskey. So I'm going to go for it cask strength because why not? Wow. You know when I said jammy, for jammy wines, Portuguese jammy wines, and you might know the ones I'm talking about, really kind of juicy. This makes your mouth water. It's really jammy. So kind of plum, damsons, all the red fruit. It's like there's a cider element to it. It's almost like cranberries and cider or something. There's like, it makes your tongue tingle, it makes, like, you know, your tongue pop. You get that sort of fizz going on. which I've never noticed that before. It could just be my palate this evening. That's the other interesting thing. When you drink whiskey, it's obviously about the situation where you're having it, who you're having it with, the entire environment. It all, your own personal tasting notes are going to be different from day to day, depending on what you've eaten before, who you're with, the situation. Some of your best whiskey moments are going to be, because of the whole event surrounding where you're having that dram. So with a little bit of water, calms down a wee bit, but you get a little bit more mint in the aroma. Actually, a little bit of lemon mint. So there's a definite herbal aspect going on here. Longer delivery. There's a lot longer delivery with a little bit of water, actually. It just lengthens it. Still get all the spices, maybe a little bit of nutmeg in there as well. So it's actually a really quite complex whiskey. I find these things really fun, these STR releases. Well, we've only done this one and one other single cask bottling. So if you're wanting an STR release from us, then you'll have to go onto the Kingsbarns website and have a look at getting the Founders Club. So I think I'm going to open up the wee chat function here. Let's have a look at this. Fantastic. Right, we've got Derek saying it makes a great old fashioned. I've not tried that before. I'll have to give that a go sometime. And feel free to pitch in. You guys and girls have any questions, feel free to open up. Or if you'd like to see any more of the distillery, I can show you some more of that as well.
Let's see the distillery for that. Oh, it's picking us up.
Yeah, put mute on.
Are you getting on, Fiona?
Yeah, we found the members, and
I remember you. I remember you from the tasting. Yeah, how are you getting on?
We're great. Loving
Great to see you here. Aye. So has everyone had a good Father's Day anyway? Has everyone called their dads? Because I still need to do that.
We need a sidekick.
I hope you gave your dad a bottle.
I said to him, I can give you a bottle. I can get you in the virtual tasting. First time we've ever done one in the distillery. This is going to be unique, Dad. Do you know what he said? I've stopped drinking whiskey. Yeah, it's a travesty. He said he's been.
Oh dear.
Yeah, getting a little bit overweight this long time. So I'm embarrassing him now.
Hi Peter, are you there? Hi Peter. I'm just wondering if you're going to do a sherry cask release in number 3.
Yeah, so we've got quite a few different sherries up our sleeve. Yeah, we have plans on releasing a sherry shortly. I can't say when, but yeah, we've got a variety of different sherry butts on the go. We've got Oloroso sherry aging mainly, and these are all old Solera butt systems. So the proper ones that are going to be 40 years old. Beautiful butts. That sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? But we've also got some Fino, some Amontillado, we've got some PX, we've even dabbled just a tiny bit in European oak. So I mean, we've got lots of surprises to come. For the time being, for the last year, it's really been kind of putting the focus on the Dream to Dram and letting it have its moment, because we really wanted to establish the distillery style first and foremost, and then have some interesting releases off that.
Well, this year, sorry. Will this year's bottle for founder members still be able to come out in time because of all this?
So yeah, we're still planning. We're still planning on doing it later on in the year. Yeah. Again, I've got something quite interesting up our sleeves that I can't tell you about yet, but it's totally different to anything we've ever released before. Yeah, I mean, the Founders Editions are great. It's great fun for me to be able to invite you guys all here to the distillery, because obviously we have a Founders Day every year, so all the founders get invited for free to come and have a look, have a tour of the distillery, and to have a taste of their founder's bottle, so that they don't have to open it. So I'm quite looking forward to that. But we are
not in December.
sorry.
For us Southerners. Can you make that in the summer and not in December for us Southerners?
Whereabouts are you from? Is it Australia?
Yeah, okay.
Near London.
Near London.
Oh, London. Oh, not that far south.
Not that far.
Great. Yeah. No, it is all planned in. Things have been all up in the air. It's thrown off a lot of businesses. This whole situation. So we're certainly still planning to put the same bottlings that we had planned out this year at roughly the same times. So yeah, it's just a little hurdle to overcome for us. That's all.
Thank you, Peter.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you all managing to get on at the moment with what's going on? Are you still managing to all work and sort of be productive?
Is that Stephen there?
Yeah.
Hi, Stephen.
Hiya.
Yeah, so we shut down for about 5 or 6 weeks actually.
Right.
Just while it was all going on, kind of putting our people first, and at the end of the day, you know, these folk are the heart of the business. A distillery is nothing without its, you know, the people that work there. So we shut down for 6 weeks. Visitor centre is still shut, shop still shut, cafe still shut, but a couple of us are still working. So we just started up 3 weeks ago, and we started distilling again, doing it all socially distancing. So yeah, rock on. So no, it's great to be back to it, because I was twiddling my thumbs a little bit at home. So it's good to be back. Yeah.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Well, we're coming back up there in October, so hopefully we can drop in again.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, please do. Aye. Yeah. No, it'll be great once we're out of the woods and things get to settle back down a little bit into some more normality. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing some more distilleries myself as well, and welcoming all you guys across. So you'll have to all come and see us. You know, once you can, once we've got the visitor centre open, please come and see us and have a dram with us and share one.
Yeah.
No, we're all really looking forward to that time. Well, I think unless is there any more? Is any chance we can see the Ducot? I see. Sorry, Connor and Drew. No chance today. I'll be walking through. It'd be great to see you guys. Drew and Connor both used to work here a couple of years ago. So yeah, they've been Kingsbarns fans and global ambassadors pretty much since they.
We are counting down the days that you can start shipping to the United States.
Yeah, I know.
We will happily be promoting the brand once it hits American shores.
Yeah. Please have a word with Mr. Trump and get him to relax the tariffs.
Or November.
Yeah.
After November.
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Well, it was fantastic to be able to show you all around. Robbie, how's it going?
Yeah, good. I was just saying, Drew and Connor, the terrible influences. I mean, you know, that's why my dad and I are celebrating our whiskey tonight. It's thanks to these two. So, yeah, the work's already started.
Yeah, I got an email. I got an email from them saying they bought you one. Enjoy. I hope you enjoy, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up, but it was a pleasure to be able to show you all the distillery and for a first for me, a first for the whole distillery team. We're all incredibly passionate about what we do, about being able to produce something, as I say, that people get something out of, that people enjoy. So it's been great to have the distillery first in a virtual sense and get you guys having a tasting in here. You know, see some of the distillery. I know many of you have already seen it, but it's an interesting thing to do. Nevertheless, is to have a wee look at stage to stage. Let's see what makes. How do you get to the point of having this liquid in the glass? That's the interesting thing, isn't it?
I would like to say thanks very much to you. It's my first virtual meeting, and I think you've done absolutely brilliant. I think you've come over really well. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you very much.
I'm really glad you did. Yeah. So
Well
have to come and see the distillery again once we're open. Again, as I said before, whiskey's about sharing. So this is a gregarious spirit.
I think,
So
the, last
cheers to
time,
you
I think the last time I saw you was in Leith Walk.
Oh, really? Okay.
You were having a whiskey tasting in a pub
All right. Okay.
and it got cancelled.
All right. I can't remember. We do quite a lot of these.
It was up near the it was up near the Playhouse.
There is. Yeah, we do the Edinburgh Whiskey Festival, which is just in the.
No,
church.
but this was just in a pub at 7 o'clock at night.
I can't remember it. I'm sorry.
I'm sure it was you I was speaking to. There was two of you.
I might have been blind drunk. No, I'm only joking.
Anyway, cheers.
Right, no bother. Okay, I'll see you all again soon.
Yeah, cheers.
Slàinte and a happy Father's Day to you all.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
Slàinte. Peter.
Slàinte.